Paradise, Season 1, Episode 8, The Man Who Kept the Secrets, the season finale, and oftentimes in television, people will tell you that the penultimate episode, the episode second to last, is often better than the finale itself. And unfortunately for Paradise, that holds true, which is a testament to how good Episode 7 was, but also an indictment of this finale, which I did not think was all that great. I think there's some pretty big plot holes and some stupid plot points, and that's unfortunate after I really spent the last week like campaigning and arguing and standing up for Paradise, telling people that this is a better show than a lot of the internet is giving it credit for. A lot of people are starting to say that this is just a silly action movie, B movie type television show, and that it's just, a guilty pleasure strictly for entertainment. And I was sitting there saying, hold the phone. I get it. It's a little far-fetched. It's certainly action and entertainment. But when you look at how good the premiere was and how awesome Episode 7 was, you're looking at, 25% of the episodes of Season 1 are awesome. And everything else in between was pretty intriguing and entertaining. These characters have enough depth that you can discuss it. And so, let's give this show a little more credit. And then Episode 8, the finale happens, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I, in good conscience, can run around talking about, this being a great show if this is the finale we're going to deal with. We'll get into I'll break down everything kind of step by step in this episode, but the big reveal that we finally solved the mystery that we established in Episode 1. While there is this grand mystery of everything going on in Paradise and Sinatra and what the government's doing and where are the people and are the people still alive, that's the bigger picture. But really, in the beginning of the show, we established the president has been murdered and we need to figure out who it is. And they give you that payoff in Episode 8. While they leave you with the cliffhanger of everything else, they do button up that one storyline. So I think one of the problems of modern day television is the reliance on the cliffhanger. And I like shows where they give you an answer. And I'm probably going to watch Season 2 anyway, even if you button it up nicely. As a matter of fact, I'm probably more inclined to watch it if you wrap up a season nicely. So you don't need to leave me with this cliffhanger. But all too many shows do, in fact, do that. I looked at Lioness on Peacock. I thought was a great first season where they just wrap it up and they answer the question and they say we'll be back for Season 2 with these characters in similar circumstances, but we don't need to continue this one storyline. Now, obviously, things are a little bit different with Paradise, where you're talking about one major planetary event, so you have to continue that storyline. But I think, they knew they were never going to really answer any of the major questions. But they did wrap up this murder mystery in a bow for you. The problem is that they wrapped it up with a shitty storyline. The librarian did it. What? Bro, what? Who cares? I love a good twist. What I hate is the twist that you literally could not see coming. Like, you'd have to be watching this and looking at this with a fine-tooth comb to ever really think that it was the librarian. Maybe you could say, oh, hey, remember the guy who tried to assassinate him out in the real world? Maybe he came to finish the job. That I can understand. That's not too far-fetched. I'll give him credit for that. But this librarian, it's like, I don't care. It's not like, oh, it was her. Oh, it was him. It's like, oh, it was this fucking random guy. Great. It's like, no one could predict this because no one even knows who the fuck this character is or what's going on. That, to me, I don't like that. I feel like that's lazy. I think usually what, you're looking for is the person who was on camera and a part of this season, but just forgettable enough that it's not front of mind, but memorable enough that when it's revealed, you go, oh, shit. And it was none of that. I went into it thinking that Cal Bradford's dad was still a big suspect in my mind. I thought that they were laying on this dementia thing pretty heavily. And what if it turns out he's not? He's mentally okay, and that's all a cover story, and he's, pulling the strings like he, as President Bradford, as the father figure who said he was the one really running the ship. I thought maybe him. They laid it on pretty thick in Episode 7 that I think her name was Marcia, who was like the secretary at the White House. She was like so mad that her and her son did not get on the plane and that Bradford didn't save them despite her being with him from the beginning. Something like that. That probably would have been a little on the nose because it was so obvious that like she hated him, but like there's a storyline there. You get that. You could see it being. I've seen this storyline quite a bit in recent years. That movie, that series with Jake Gyllenhaal. What was the name of that one? Presumed Innocent, I think it was, with Jake Gyllenhaal. Where spoiler alert. I guess I don't want to ruin anything, but Presumed Innocent was a great series on Apple TV this past year, where the daughter did it because it was like maybe you could say, okay, you're mad that Bradford didn't give your mom the heads up, and so she went and killed you. These storylines that would all be a little bit silly and a little bit far-fetched, but you get your M. Night Shyamalan twist. You get your like, oh, who done it, and you remember them, and it's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Not just some random ass fucking librarian who. My main problem with is they didn't really give you a good enough reason. So to get back to the episode, we start 12 years earlier where they are first excavating the bunker. And we meet the foreman who's running this project. And first of all, he looked ridiculous. I don't know if he was like wearing a fat suit or a wig, but right off the bat, I was like, this guy looks goofy and weird. It almost looked like the aliens in Men in Black when they're like, trying to fit in their human skin, and they just look a little off, which I think ended up being the case because, as we see later, he's got to shave his head and change his appearance. So it's like, this is like some sort of fucking costume, basically, just looking ridiculous. But more importantly, his whole storyline to me was very silly. I can see the idea of he's the foreman. He finds out that there's these hazardous materials. They cut him off. And they let his team continue to work and die. Well, he gets kicked off, and he's not happy about that, and he's going to be the whistleblower on the whole thing. That I understand, because they establish him as like this really good guy. He's looking out for his men. He's like, don't be a minute late, because every minute matters. He's like this really nice guy, and he's the one who brings the arsenic and the hazardous materials and says, we have to stop this. In the long run, everyone will be okay, but in the short run, me and my men are going to die, so you and I both know we got to shut this down. And if someone were to just cut you off, kick you out of the project, let your men continue to work there and die, you would be pretty pissed off about it. And then he goes home, and you see that he's like fixated on this. We see the headline that says Bradford Industries suing over defamation, that the mysterious deaths are linked to his Rocky Mountain bunker project. That I understand. I was in on this project. I have inside information. I'm basically the whistleblower. I'm going to expose the president and the government for what they did to my men. Fine. The jump from that to I'm going to assassinate the president felt patently ridiculous to me. That's a huge fucking jump to make. To go from this normal guy who's like, I'm going about my project and I'm checking out my men, and to like, I'm a domestic terrorist who's going to murder the president. And they didn't establish, you either got to establish that he's fucking crazy or enough of a motive that he would hate the president and need to take him out. Like this guy, Adam, he breaks bread with this guy and they have a moment and, they're trying to connect. And that guy, Adam, is going to go on to get sick and die. He's going to be upset about that. Not, I'm going to murder the president, upset. They needed to show that, like that woman, Marsha, like, your recklessness killed my daughter, my family. This project, kicking me off this project, like, harms my wife and kids. That would be like, I need to get revenge, right? Or they need to just establish this guy's off the rocker. He's just fucking crazy and capable of anything. They did neither of those things. And that might just be the plight of modern television, 8 episodes to a season, maybe 10. When you look at shows like Lost, it used to be 22 episodes for a season. Hour-long episodes, 22 of them for like 6 seasons. You can establish and go through every storyline and develop every single thing you need. These days, they don't really do that. Usually they try to speed things up and connect enough dots that it makes sense. This one, I just thought it was like, guy working on the project has inside information, murdering the president. I thought that was pretty fucking ridiculous. He's trying to kill him on the White House lawn. You'll all listen to me soon. And then we see he's in prison and he's like crazy on the phone. I'm going to get in. We're going to make it. It's like, where did all of this fucking come from? We don't know who this guy is. We don't care who this guy is. We don't know why he'd even be this crazy. But here we are. We get back to the investigation. Xavier confronts Richardson. He's like, we missed something. And we got to go back to the crime scene. And Richardson's like, no, we got to go back to arrival day. And neither of them are wrong. Both of them are right in their own regard. And they both go about their investigation in their own ways. So Xavier's back at the crime scene. That's when he starts to look through. He finds the mixtape that says, I was down in the library. He leaves the mixtape for his son, Jeremy. Cal does. And he says, I went to the library to make you this mixtape. So Xavier's like, all right, I got to go to the library. He found the cigarette box that had the X painted in blood and the number written on it. So he's like, all right, I know that this cigarette carton is for me. I know this number means something. And now I'm being told that you went down to the library. Let me go check it out. And that's when he finds the book, The Man Who Kept the Secrets. Now, that book is a real book about Richard Helms. He is the quintessential CIA man. For 30 years, from the very inception of the Central Intelligence Agency and before, he occupied pivotal positions in the shadowy world. OSS operator, spy master, planner, plotter, and finally, for over 6 years, agency director. No other was so closely and personally involved over such a long period with so many CIA activities, successful and otherwise. So it is this book about the intelligence agency, the government, secrets, and all the shadowy things that go on in America, a fitting nod to what's going on here with the Doomsday Bunker. So he's figuring out that while that's going on, Richardson is investigating Arrival Day. She goes to Gabriella, the therapist's house, and they're going through the original list of everyone who checked in that day, and that's when she sees this chick, Maggie Rogers, who is the waitress at the restaurant, who has been in a couple scenes here and there, nothing major, but every time they're in the restaurant, they show her, and she's always eating these French fries, these like cheese fries, whatever it is, nachos, something like that. And Gabriella sees that this person, Maggie Rogers, is supposed to have a nut allergy. And she's like, no, this can't be. Something's wrong here. So this allergy sets off the bells and whistles. So as they are figuring out that Maggie Rogers is a part of this situation, you have Xavier in the library, and that's when he gets hit in the back of the head with this fire extinguisher, and it's the librarian. Now, as that's happening, Gabriella and Sinatra are talking. Sinatra finally admits, she's like, I'm a fucking monster, dude. I'm a monster. Stop trying to work on me as a doctor and a therapist. I've done horrible things. Leave me alone. That's when Gabriella starts to be like, okay, shit, maybe I've been wrong about this woman the whole time. Maybe she is a monster. Speaking of monsters, Jane gets on the phone with Sinatra. Sinatra's like, what are we going to do about Presley, Xavier's daughter? I'm worried about it. I think I can control Xavier, but what are we going to do about the chick? Jane's like, I got this. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. She's like, whoa, hang on. Like, let's not do anything drastic. And then Jane says, what about the Nintendo Wii? Now, I was thinking to myself, this Nintendo Wii has to represent something. This is code. They're not really playing Wii. Wii means something else. I don't know what. Drugs, information. I don't know. Her and Billy used to play Wii together while they were having their affair. I'm just thinking that this has to mean something bigger than just Nintendo Wii. When she says that, Sinatra reacts like, are you fucking out of your mind? And I'm thinking, oh, this must be some big ask. And so I'm waiting to figure out what happens with Nintendo Wii. We see more about that in the end of the episode. That was one of the things that made me want to punch my screen the most. But as we cut back to Maggie Rogers and Gabriella and Richardson, we learn the whole story of how Maggie Rogers got into the bunker. And this librarian was the foreman. He's like, he breaks out of prison. I'm going to sneak into this bunker. And he finds these two. This is the part that's also kind of silly. It's like he happens to find this perfect couple that are on their way in that he can dupe to walk out to the middle of the nowhere, kills them both, shaves his head and everything to look exactly like this random guy that he happened to just find in the car, and finds Maggie Rogers, this fat bitch who's just smoking and drinking and eating, and he's like, "You're coming with me." He says to her, "You're in the right place at the right time," right after he had told Xavier, who was down in the library, "You're in the wrong place at the wrong time." So a little connection there. I thought that whole like plot of him getting in was very ridiculous. Like the way he found this guy, gets the wristband, finds a woman perfectly to buy into his, "I just murdered these people, let's sneak in." I guess anything's possible when it's the end of the world. But then to get in by he just has a panic attack. Why is your wristband broken? Give me an answer. He has no answer. He just starts screaming, "Oh God, oh God, oh God." And the girl's like, "Go ahead, just go in." I understand it would be panic. It would be craziness. You don't have time. You know, let the rest of the world survive. But it's like, you're here to check these wristbands that are supposed to be secure and in place for a reason to prevent people like this from like murdering and sneaking in, and you let the first person like go right through. That felt like you needed a better plan, in my opinion, to sneak your way into the, keep the world going bunker, and he just kind of did it like, no problem. I also hate that this guy just leaves. He knocks Xavier Collins out, tells him the whole story in detail. Here's exactly how it all went down. And then he just leaves him there, tied up. You've already murdered the president. You've tried to murder him twice. You successfully murdered him once. You're ready to take down the whole fucking thing. You're ready to burn it down, expose it, and with a plan to kill yourself. But you're just like, "I'll just leave Xavier Collins alive." I don't know. That seemed a little crazy to me too. If he's supposed to be this radicalized, like domestic terrorist, I think Xavier Collins is, collateral damage, no problem. But again, you can't have a show if Xavier Collins is dead. So that's out the window. So he jumps off the top of the building, goes splat, and that's when Xavier finds Sinatra, and she tells him, "Listen, your daughter's dead. Like, I didn't mean for this to happen, but she's gone." That's when he pulls out his gun, pop, pop, kills them, and has Sinatra at gunpoint. Another ridiculous plot point that, like, he has a bunch of security guards, Sinatra does, who check him on the way in. They take his weapon, and they just, like, let him keep one of his guns. Whatever. Ridiculous. But as Xavier's got a gun to her head, like, "Where's my fucking daughter? Tell me what's going on." Jane comes in, pow, shoots her right in the throat. So she's, mortally injured, can't talk, but she's not going to die. She'll be fine, even despite the gunshot through her trachea. Xavier is now like, "All right, I'll go get my daughter." And Jane says to Sinatra, "I needed you alive. So, you'll survive. You're not going to be able to talk, but I needed you alive." And that's when we wrap up with Xavier hopping in a plane to go fly to go find his wife, which obviously they flew into this bunker and they had a runway, I'm sure, to get people in. But like, I don't know how you get out. The fact people would see a plane in the air, it'd be crazy. I don't know how you fly out of the bunker. That part just seems like that's where we're talking silly action movie. Like, I'm going to steal a plane and fly it out of the underground bunker to go out to the outside world. Like, yeah, now we're just talking like Last Action Hero type shit. But when I look at the whole thing, like the major plot points that I thought were either so dumb or really not explained or just major plot holes, like, why did he get radicalized so fast, the librarian? Why did he make the jump to assassinating the president? Getting into the bunker seemed super easy. Even easier than that was the way he got into Cal's house for the assassination attempt, the second assassination attempt when he kills him. Like, I know Billy was asleep. I know that the cameras went out, but like this librarian, we're not talking about, he was a ex-Navy SEAL, he's CIA, he's military. Like, it's just this librarian with an axe to grind who decides, "I'm going to just stroll up in the president's house and bash his head in." I thought that was kind of ridiculous too. Also, like, he was like, "I'm going to just live my life here." He wasn't going to kill the president. He said, "I'm going to live for Adam. I'm going to live for the guys who didn't make it." And then one trip to the library from Cal, and he's like, "Never mind. I got to go back to murdering this guy." again, the motivation is just really not there. So getting into the bunker, crazy easy. Getting into Cal's house, ridiculously easier. Why does he let Xavier survive? And then the Wii thing. We cut to a scene where Jane is playing Wii. And I'm like, this bitch is really just playing Wii? Like, I think at this point, my wish for this to mean something more, be some sort of symbolism or code language or something. No, I think she just wanted fucking Wii, which I guess could be establishing that Jane is just some like psychopathic, no emotions, fixated on, unimportant things. I'll kill him, whatever you want me to do. Just make sure you give me my video games. But I'm like, what is this fucking Wii storyline? What is that? And Xavier getting by with the gun and then the plane. It was just like, I don't know, man. This wasn't it. This was not it. Coming off of episode 7, which was a movie in its own right, starting at the Cuban Missile Crisis up through the catastrophe. We have, the nuclear football has this secret second thing to save the world, and we got Xavier on the phone crying, and people are crying about Jeffrey, the security guard, the janitor, and all of it was a good version of this is, the entertaining doomsday catastrophe movie television show. And then episode 8 was just like all of the bad stuff, all of the stuff that the critics have been saying about Paradise came to fruition in episode 8, where just not a lot connecting the dots, not a lot making sense, and a big reveal that just leaves a lot to be desired because we didn't know or care about this fucking guy. And the character that he was afterwards in the bunker was not one that, he's not like a scary villain. He's not like a super smart, witty villain. He's not, he's just like this fucking random guy that we didn't have any connection to. And he pulls off this like very rudimentary assassination. And it's just like, how, why, what? None of the questions really answered well. And we're left with, Cal Bradford's son, has all the information and he's still preaching the truth to anybody who will listen. So he's going to pick up the baton and run and keep the Bradford name and truth going, while Richardson tells Xavier Collins, listen, this is a bigger calling that we need to address. It's not just about your daughter and your wife. The people deserve to know. We need to know if humanity's out there. And just because Sinatra's down doesn't mean another monster won't just slide in there and try to lie to all of us. So we need to do this for the people, and you need to get out there. And so he's going to fly a plane out of the bunker to go save his wife and save humanity. And he opens up the case to see his dad's pilot wings, to tie it back into how his dad flew planes, and now he's going to fly one. And I'm just thinking, we got Jane playing fucking Wii while Xavier's flying planes while Phil Collins' Paradise plays. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe this show is a little bit ridiculous. When you're looking at Paradise through the lens of entertaining television, we're good to go. Will I be out there arguing that the finale is more proof that Paradise is, great epic TV? I will probably not. But we're up for a season 2, and I would imagine that probably means a season 3 and maybe 4, where you have a little bit more room to operate with. Hopefully, it's a show where writers have a long-term plan and weren't just operating off of. It does feel like a little bit of a show of like, what if there's a doomsday bunker, post-apocalyptic, and the president was murdered? That's a great idea, and it's like, but did they flesh it out longer than that? Or were they just like, let's write a pilot, let's get a season, and see where this takes us? Because if they're writing on the fly, and we're already going down some of these silly, over-the-top, plot hole type storylines, it could get ugly fast. So hopefully with more episodes, more time to operate, they can kind of establish some more, better stories than this librarian murder. Which again left a lot to be desired. So episode 1 in the books, some very, very high moments. I would say overall, the highs are still higher than the lows are low, because at the baseline of it's a fun, entertaining action show, it always delivers on that front. And then every now and then you get this bonus of this was actually really gripping television. episode 8 starts to teeter where we're going even beneath that. Like, it's just fun and entertaining towards like, this is stupid. Like, if anybody out there watched 0 Day on Netflix, my God, that might be the worst show of all time. And I won't get into a whole breakdown with that, but it's Bob De Niro, Connie Britton, Jesse Plemons, and a whole bunch of other like A-list actors on a Netflix show together. And it was not promoted or talked about once because I think they knew how much of a steaming pile of shit that was. I mean, just ridiculous storylines about De Niro having a baby out of wedlock with his chief of staff who was working with him while he's getting some special biochemical warfare that only attacks his brain. So he's sleeping in his office while he tries to torture a podcaster. I mean, like, truly bad television that I was like, get this off of my TV. And that kind of is what I kept saying. This is what people are acting like Paradise actually is. And Paradise is better than that. And then episode 8 finale, I was like, this feels more like 0 Day than it does feel like episode 7 and episode 1. So I think it does always, so far deliver on that fun show. And you get some extras in the form of the occasional episode here and there. That's very good. We'll see what seasons, 2, 3, beyond can deliver. More of 1 and 7, we are in great shape. More of episode 8. This might become don't need to talk about it on the internet every week type television. So fingers crossed that it proves me wrong and proves to be more 7 than it does 8. So we can keep talking about it and it is worth our time. But either way, a new show to add to the list and to debate and love or hate. Paradise. Season 1 in the books. Great acting from Sterling K. Brown. A lot of good moments. Marsden shined in his scenes, some fun shit, and then also some questionable stuff, which is okay. Not everything needs to be the greatest show ever, and not everything needs to be this show absolutely sucks. There can be a middle ground of television shows that are just good and entertaining, and every now and then can be great, and every now and then can be dog shit. And that is Paradise thus far. We'll see what the next seasons have in store. Keep up on the watch list as shows like Paradise phase out. We're going to phase new shows in. Daredevil is coming. In the summertime, we have that Aliens show. I'm going to start getting into Invincible. Season 3 came out. So there's plenty of shows that as one ends, another one premieres, and we'll kind of just keep it rolling throughout the calendar year of all television. So make sure you subscribe to the watch list, post videos, tell your friends. If you're into TV, if you like discussing television, leave your comments. Hit me up with ideas, shows you want reviewed, theories you want explained, breakdowns of all kinds. We're trying to really grow this channel and really dive into that TV thing. So if you're into it, let me know. Help me with content. Spread the word. Follow the watch list. Subscribe. And we'll see you for another edition, for another show next week.